Recording has started.
Okay. Good evening and welcome. We're good. Okay. Good evening and welcome to this evening's meeting of the Woodbury County Zoning Commission. Today's date is September 22nd, 2025, and the time is 5:00 p.m. Tonight's meeting will be audio taped and minutes will be prepared. In respect to all parties, we ask those present to turn off cell phones or set to vibrate. Those in attendance are asked to legibly complete the attendance sheet upon the front table. I would like to take a moment to review the procedures that the commission will follow tonight. First, the commission will handle the normal housekeeping agenda items. And for each application on the agenda, I will open the public hearing on the item. The planning and zoning staff will then present the staff report, including the staff recommendation. Any letters or other communication received from the public prior to the hearing will be entered into the record. The applicant will then have the opportunity to present his or her case and respond to the staff report. Next, we will hear comments from the public. If you would like to speak either in support of or against the application, you must come to the microphone. Please first state your name and address for the record. All interested parties shall be heard, but repetitious comments should be avoided. Repetitious or irrelevant comments may be ruled out of order by the chair. I ask that you remain respectful and courteous with your comments at all times. After all public comments have been heard, the staff and applicant may make a closing statement. The hearing shall then be closed by motion and vote. Thereafter, no further comments from the staff, public, or applicant may be heard unless asked for by the commission. The commission shall then deliberate the case and may ask questions of the applicant, the staff, or any party offering testimony. However, such questions do not reopen the hearing for additional comments from the public unless so requested or approved by the commission. The commission will then formulate and vote on a motion. The motion will typically either grant or deny the requested application. Any commission member who has an ex parte communication to place in the record of this meeting should do so prior to the beginning of the deliberation of the respective agenda item. And with that being said, roll call, let the record reflect that all commissioners are here with the exception of Corey Meister. Item number 3 is public comments on matters not on the agenda. Not seeing any, and we have no one on the phone. So we will move on to number 4, which is approval of minutes from the previous meeting. If we have no corrections, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second. Aye.
Yes, I do want to make it clear that this agenda item as well as the next, which have their own respective public hearings, are associated with one another. This first one is the splitting of the lots to the minor subdivision process, and the second would be the required rezone to AE for the purpose of being able in the future to add another house because of the limitation for 2 houses within a quarter. So tonight, this Lefevre addition has been submitted. It's a 6.75 acre area, and the request is to split it into 2 lots. Lot 1 consisting of 2 acres and lot 2 of 4.75 acres for the construction of a future residence. The subject property, as identified by the chair, is in the parcel as referenced. It's in the Floyd Township in the southwest quarter of the northwest quarter. It's presently in the Agricultural Preservation Zoning District. This is approximately 1 mile west of the city of Lawton and 4.5 miles east of Sioux City. And as referenced, this is being considered concurrently with a rezone application. And after going through the process, Everything appears to be in order. The county engineer's office, county engineer, found that the plat closure and everything is compliant. And staff does recommend, because there is a shared driveway there, ingress egress situation. It's recommended that they have a separate recorded easement agreement put into place just in the future for long-term stability to govern the relationship on items such as general maintenance, repair, upkeep, snow removal, anything that can create a peaceful driveway situation. But with that said, staff recommends approval of this and sees it as suitable based on the configuration with the exception of the agreement.
Okay, do we have anyone representing this application here tonight? Do you want to speak, add any comments or any information to,
And if you would, could you push those two buttons in front of you there?
there you go.
That's better?
Yeah.
I really don't have anything to add to it. It's all pretty straightforward. I just wanted to come down, be part of the process, check it out.
Okay.
So I have nothing unless you have something for me.
Commissioners, anybody?
I like it.
Anybody has questions?
I like it even more.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, if we don't have any questions or comments or concerns, I'd entertain a motion.
I'd make a motion to recommend to the Board of
Um,
Supervisors.
We have to close the public
Oh,
hearing.
sorry.
Sorry, we need to close the public hearing. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, I need a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That was unanimous, by the way. Okay, now let's have a motion.
I'd make a motion to approve the Lefevre addition minor subdivision proposal and recommend approval to the Board of Supervisors
With the.
with the access easement as referred to in the staff report.
Is that good?
Yes.
Okay, we've got a motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Any further comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, that part's done. Step one.
It's-
We have step two now.
Yeah, and just for the record, we do have a second public hearing on the rezone.
We have to rezone now. Whether you want to stay or not, that's up to you,
Thank you.
but yes, thank you. So the next item we have on our agenda is the rezone, public hearing consideration of proposed zoning ordinance map amendment, rezone application for the agricultural preservation AP zoning district to the agricultural estates AE zoning district on the same parcel. It's 1650 Delaware Avenue lot in Iowa. Okay, Dan, do you want to read that information into the record, please?
Yes, noted by the chair and as per the previous agenda item, this is at the exact location on the parcel number 884604100004 for 1650 Delaware Avenue. And this public hearing is for the consideration of transitioning the zoning district, rezoning from agricultural preservation to agricultural estates, which is technically a requirement for a future house on that lot. So it fits hand in hand with the previous agenda item. And so staff's recommendation is approval of that.
Okay. Okay, and our applicant has left, so hopefully you didn't have any questions for him. Does anyone have any comments or concerns about this?
No concerns, just to address the one concern that was pointed out was the AE bordering the commercial, which fits within the future land use map. And that was, when the map was drawn, that was aware of the fact that AE would border the commercial anyhow. So
Okay, plan 4. Okay, do we have any comments or concerns or questions? Okay, if I'm hearing none, I'd entertain a motion. Oh,
Close.
close it
Motion
again. I'm
close.
sorry, close it again. I'm in a hurry.
make a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, do I have a motion? Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I'm not gonna ask for any more further comments, but all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, that's unanimous. Okay, Now we're ready.
I'll move that the zoning commission recommend approval of the zoning ordinance map to rezone parcel number as listed from agriculture preservation to ag estates to the board of supervisors.
Okay, I have a motion. Could I get a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay. That one has been completed. Now we have another item on the agenda, which is a public hearing consideration of zoning ordinance text amendments for public service garage conditional use in the agricultural preservation AP zoning district and or the agricultural estates AE zoning district. Dan, do you want to read that information into our record, please?
Yes. So tonight's consideration of this particular zoning ordinance text amendment was directed for consideration by the Board of Supervisors. And the goal is to consider the conditional use permit process as being available for agricultural preservation land, and as well, under your consideration, agricultural estates land for consideration, whether there might be a useful location in particular areas around the county. Many of our local cities, local areas throughout the county are surrounded by agricultural preservation, and at times there is some agricultural estates. We did some research, and historically what happened is where some of those county garages were in the past when the rezone occurred previously around 2008, the limited industrial district was kind of labeled where those existing facilities were. And what we had found is if you look at the normal order of things, if we looked at doing a rezone, for example, if a need came up for like a secondary roads facility of some sort, it would put the commission and the board of supervisors in a tough position under spot zone principles and going with the comp plan based on where industrial areas are. And the whole point of keeping the rezone procedure fully intact is we've been really clear about spot zoning through many of our processes, especially on the renewable energy debate, such as solar, where you don't go spot zone a particular area, and then you could run into the debate on public use versus not being public use, and create a larger debate in the county on terms of how you use the rezone or not. And when we got to thinking about it, that's the whole point of the conditional use, is the maybe permit, where you center in and you decide whether an area or not is appropriate or not. And the zoning commissioners and the Board of Adjustment members are the guardians to whether an area is suitable or not. And having the district as being available for an area of consideration would give various departments, county agencies such as secondary roads, or even state, the ability to ask the county at some point if a location is suitable or not for public service garages and public uses. And so the original proposal was to have the commission consider this through the public hearing process. We notified all the papers, as was reflected in the packet for tonight's meeting. After talking with Joshua Widman, our assistant county attorney as well, we looked at adding the agricultural estates district in there just for consideration, because what we learned about borrow pits beforehand as well, do we look at this as a full package as far as, okay, you got AP and got AE, and you just never know at some point where there might be an AE out there that is next to something that could be potentially, but yet it leaves you all in the driver's seat in terms of whether that location is appropriate or not based on public testimony and everything. So we feel that, or I feel when I look at it, that we have enough to guard for the normal things that we definitely care about as far as the criteria of protecting the neighborhood. And one of the nice parts about commissions and Board of Adjustments are you always reserve the right to say no to something when you know that it's not appropriate or not. So this is a maybe permit in the sense I prefer the term conditional use, but I think maybe really kind of throws it out there that it's not a slam dunk that something like that's approved. So with that said, the goal of the public hearing was to glean some ideas from the public. But of course, it's not a robust crowd here tonight, but I would say that it's probably not very controversial as far as it not being, there's not a substantial project here in front. So when things are project based, I think as we've learned in the past, then you pick up some steam as far as participation. But kind of in the energies of looking at the borrow pit and everything, I think it's probably reasonable to have that conditional use available. So there could be a conversation if there is a project at some point to come forward for you all to review.
I'm seeing not very many at all as far as the public for participation, but do we have anyone that wants to speak to this public hearing matter?
Hello, Laura Severs, Woodbury County Engineer. So our use for public service garage locations in our county, we do abut commercial properties, we abut residential properties, and in my short time here, just over a year, I have not received a single complaint about a shop location. And so I just wanted you guys to know that we are good neighbors. I don't think that you'll ever get too many, if we would put a location somewhere within the conditional use locations, I don't think you're going to get a whole bunch of people. I might be wrong, but I was in Lyon County before this job for 7 years. We put up 2 new, shop locations. One was in an economic development site, and that was not ideal. We don't want to be putting our non-taxing, non-commercial tax, entities into commercial economic locations. So the next best place is to find some place where we can hug community that we can service. So in a snow event, all the snow removal equipment is first within the community, leaving the community to less dense road, and traffic locations. And so it's very important for us to be right on the outside of a community. And like was said earlier, is it's not really zoned anywhere for us to go. So eventually, if we would like to relocate some of our shops, we would like an opportunity to have locations where we can go within your zoning and do it in a legal way. So I don't know what other questions you would have, but that's kind of how it would help the secondary roads department have that opportunity.
Thank you. Anybody, questions?
So we're just right now trying to preempt this possibility by
Yeah.
having conditional use available. Was that my understanding?
Yeah, and I do want to point out that the menu of decisions are, you can recommend AP, AE, or both. AE, I think both does add that flexibility. And I do want to point out, this came up in the solar debate as well before the supervisors. If we're forced to follow the ordinance the way it is, and you rezone something, let's say to industrial, and you dare go down the line of a spot zone of any kind of sort, and it doesn't pan out for that use, when you flip a district, you gain all the rights of that industrial district. So if the county or somebody else, if it's under a different ownership, you're at risk of all the menu of items that could happen on that district. So a person could really, I think, put up a really good argument that there's a lot more control under the scope of the conditional use as far as tailoring it for that site at that time. And then if the use ever expires or sunsets, then you're within the realm of that district as well. There's just a whole list of, I think, consequences when you do go down the route of attempted spot zone. And we know historically, that it's not a good thing to go down that route. And it took me some time to catch up on the research as far as why are those out there? They weren't out there just, okay, we spot zone those limited industrial. It's the history of the county. Those sites were out there for a long time. And when you all painted the county under the new zoning ordinance, you tried to find the most appropriate fit to something that was pre-existing out there. So that's why we ended up with the maps that we have, because you look at the commercial use or the industrial use at that point, and that's how they were painted at that respective time. So as far as, future applications that come in, applications will be tailored in a way to go down through our criteria, to have questions that come in. Hopefully, if it is different sites that have houses or something in the area, or even businesses, we have all sorts of different layouts across that folks will speak up if they feel something a certain way when they get those letters. So I do think that's the beauty of the community permitting process, where we bring people in and discuss it out, where we learn things. And so I think it's fair and reasonable to have the maybe option instituted by way of the conditional use permit I would probably suggest both AP and AE, but that's up to you all.
Yeah, I guess I would agree. And first point, mentioning the fact about rezoning, like you said, the fact that this is the public service garage now, if it was rezoned, it could also become something else later that might not fit. So I would prefer with the conditional use permit. And then also the fact of AE and AP possibly being just as viable, because there's a lot of AE out in the areas around the communities where maybe a shed public garage would work best. So I guess I would be also in favor of the dual AP and AE conditional use. Gives a better options, and then also the protection and then the control for the residents that live in that specific area.
Community support gives them the opportunity to voice their opinions too. Anyone else? Are we ready to make a motion? Okay, I'd entertain.
We would need to close the public hearing
Oh,
too.
close the public hearing again. Please.
I'd make a motion to close the public hearing.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Second? Yes,
I'll second.
thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, public hearing has been closed. Now I would entertain a motion.
And before you do the motion, I would just state for the record that example language is in there, and it's just basically, and not example language ordinance that the supervisors would look at. And with that said, you'll note that AP and AE are in there, and I kind of had it set up with the and or as far as setting up the meeting and everything, but your motion would basically focus in on recommending approval to put the conditional use in for both of those respective districts for a public service garage. So I'm just throwing that out there. Sure.
I'd make a motion to the Board of Supervisors to recommend approval of the zoning ordinance text amendment for public service garage as a conditional use in the AP and AE zoning districts as presented.
Motion, did I get a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay. Check.
Okay.
All right, next item on the agenda, consideration of zoning ordinance text amendment to establish minimum dimensions for accessory dwelling units. Dan, do you want to read that information into our record?
Yes, this public hearing, I think, could be construed as a effort to bring some housekeeping to several problems, I would say, with the ordinance. So I'll read this paragraph off. It's the consideration of zoning ordinance text amendments to establish maximum dimensions for accessory dwelling units, ADUs, and permit ADUs that do not comply with Iowa Code 331-301-27A1 to align primary dwellings in a county without adopted building, to align with primary dwellings in a county without adopted building codes, to add utility scale solar energy systems to the public notification subsection and correct the reference subsection to telecommunication towers, to align telecommunication tower applications with state code by removing the co-location requirements, which are not appropriate as far as Iowa Code 8C, and to correct the road use and repair agreement reference in the utility scale solar section. And so I just want to offer some explanation for each of these. This is not my favorite or ideal way to deal with ordinance amendments, but because they're housekeeping and they generally relate. But the top one here, working with the county attorney's office, when we adopted when we previously made the recommendation, the county adopted the accessory dwelling units to tie into the state code to be compliant. We rushed so quick. I rushed quick to try to get us to that compliance that we didn't realize the unintended consequence that it actually, the way it was written, we found that it, in a sense, put enforcement of the codes for the dwelling, which is not for the primary. And so working with Joshua Widman, the assistant county attorney, to bring it back into par so that the landowners have the same rights as far as the principal dwelling as well as the accessory dwelling. It was worded to not point to that particular code section, but to be worded in a way that recognizes that that we can have the accessory dwellings. And so what Joshua had suggested is we adopt the minimum dimensions, which we did not have before. So you actually specifically put the cap on so that the people here at the local level know that it lines up, that you can't go any larger than that respective size. And then by in effect putting it in there, it, in a sense, complements our back to our building permit procedures as far as for the primary dwelling. And so we need consistency on that as far as out of fairness. Imagine somebody puts in a house and, oh, I want to put a guest house in. Why didn't I have to do building codes for my primary house, which is a bigger deal than the secondary house? So that's what ended up happening by virtue of passing that. And so Joshua assisted with wording it in a way you don't exempt yourself out of Iowa code. You have to complement Iowa code. And that new legislation gave counties the ability to make it easier for people to have dwellings. And according to the interpretation that I got from the attorney's office, legal department, was that we do have the rights to, as a county, the way it was written, to go easier on our public, our landowners. There's kind of an encouragement, a movement for these dwellings. So in part of that encouragement, we still went back to putting the cap on. Because what they're saying in that is, here is the cap, but they don't have a problem with a larger house, in a sense, if you look into the way that they wrote that legislation. And that's going to be, again, I think we're going to go through a lot of growing pains really fast. I know that there's some organizations that are out there looking at this that might even have suggested ordinances to make it more popular or mainstream. But what I got out of the attorney's office is to line it up with our existing infrastructure, put the distances in there, and make it align with not having building codes. And so after having a meeting, that's how he feels about that lining up to put us back to everyday business. Now, the second amendment is adding utility scale solar systems to the public notification and correcting the telecommunication towers reference. I was shocked to find out that that particular number didn't match up all these years. as far as the telecommunication, but that's okay because it's still enumerated in that section of the ordinance. This is actually kind of a reference area that points you, it kind of collects it and says, okay, 500 feet for this one, 1 mile for the, let's see, telecommunication towers have historically been 1 mile, but the reference there was off as it pointed back to the section 5.05 is where that's generally at. So that's definitely a housekeeping measure there. Bringing the solar up front, I think we just got done with nuclear. We attempted to have that in there before, but we just didn't debate it or discuss it enough, so we pulled it out. But the idea is that you have the nuclear in there and we have our multi-mile nuclear distance. Then you see the 1 mile for the solar, you see the 1 mile for the telecommunication tower, then 500 for pretty much everything else. And so that's housekeeping to clean that one up. The next one, Amendment 3, aligning telecommunication tower applications with state code by removing the co-location requirements. Again, I've talked to the city about this before too, Chris and them guys. I've asked them, so how do you handle your conditional use permit because there's some things the boards should not be saying. I know Chris originally told me, hey, you want to put on the first page when you have the meeting there, not to say this stuff, because we're pretty much preempted under Iowa Code 8C. Before, when this ordinance was put into place, I know there was an idea of trying to control them, not have so many pop up. And the idea was that we could kind of push them into co-location. So the industry basically came back out of pressure to get the legislature as well as follow through federal to say, hey, we can't let that get in the way, that county requirement. So they basically have it enumerated in there that we can't go there. And so our ordinance basically was at the 2008 level and has never been brought into the idea of following what Iowa Code 8C says. So when people contact the office, I've had those developers are pretty well versed. They know the answers before they ask staff quite a bit. And so it's been pointed out to me several times that you don't have the right to go there. And I would always say, no, we don't intend to go there. So you may have seen in previous packets, I've make a big reference to 8C. And so this kind of takes away that, brings us into compliance and takes away that doubt, or because I've had people I know they've called just waiting to confront me about that. And it's like, well, we need to get into compliance with that. Then the next one, correcting the road use. This one just slipped through. I don't know how many times you proofread something and you believe it's right, but it had a reference in the solar side of the ordinance that we did a year or two ago now that said section 6.1. That wasn't right. That was to an old ordinance. And so we just needed to simply point to the correct subsection. I don't think that upsets any major action, but we don't want it wrong. So we want to have that corrected. And so we've had this out for public notice, had it in the multiple papers, and we haven't had any major comments. And it doesn't seem like there's a major controversy, but again, I guess I'll embarrassingly say it's housekeeping measures that wish they wouldn't have been in that shape.
But you caught them now, so that's the
Yeah.
important part. So commissioners, do you have any questions or comments on this? On any of the amendments? Any of the 4? I'm seeing none. There's a public hearing. We have to close the public hearing if we're ready to move forward.
And make a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, a motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, that is unanimous again. All right, so if we're ready to make a motion for these corrections or amendments, I would entertain that motion.
I would read this one. What's that?
I'd say to read this, but I'll let you.
Do I need to reread it or just to
You can make
motion to recommend the 4 amendments as drafted?
Yeah, yeah. I would suggest, because it's part of the meeting packet and part of the proceedings, that you would make the recommendation of the materials presented. I would also maybe stick something in there as far as, I think the page numbers and everything are going to line up right, but I always like to have that little wiggle room or that disclaimer that something of the nature of approve this and keep in mind adjustments to page numbers later on. It just gives us flexibility to discuss that. It's not an exciting thing to talk about, but it's important that we do.
I guess I make the motion to recommend the approval of the draft as pages 55 through 57 with the understanding that they might not align correctly for page numbers through the amendments 1 through 4 that are listed in our packet.
I think that works, and then there'll be a letter that can convey that to the supervisors as well.
Do you need page number 58
No.
included or no?
No.
Okay. Okay. So we have a motion. Could I get a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
I
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried unanimously. Once again. Okay, which leads us to our next item on the agenda, which is item number 6, public comment on matters not on the agenda. Seeing and hearing no public, we are going to move on to item number 7, which is staff update.
Don't really have a lot at this time other than to announce that our public hearings for all of these items will likely commence in early October over the 3-week requirement. Depending on supervisors, I know typically gauge the level of activity at the meetings. They always reserve the right to waive the 3rd reading or the 2nd reading on these respective amendments. So I believe it's October. Want to give you the right dates. So bear with me. It's the kind of the first 3 weeks there in October. So we're looking at, let's see, October. Let's see. Let's see. 2nd, 9th, or excuse me, 7th, 14th, and 21st. So those would be all Tuesdays, and that would be the rezone for the LaFever family, the amendments for the public service garage, and of course the assorted amendments that we looked at from ADUs and the housekeeping amendments. And so supervisors will ultimately gauge it based on how those go, but those will be public hearings. They have set times usually, so the meetings that begin at 4:30. So I think typically it'll be like a 4:40, 4:42, 4:45, just so everybody's aware and wants to see how those progress.
Thank you very much. Is that it?
Yeah, and anything comes up, I will put out an announcement, an email announcement.
That will work. Thank you very much, Dan. Okay, item number 8, commissioner comment or inquiry. And hearing none. So item number 9, adjournment. Could I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Got a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.